Look, even suggesting that a foreign country can put boots on the ground of another country, invade another country, occupy the land of another country, is something very much rogue, very reckless, illegal, and against all international law.
They, US and Israel, have ignited a war against humanity, civilization, and a civilized nation, and now they are desperately searching for a justification for this war. These absurd statements indicate that this war is brutal, illegitimate, and unjustified.
I hope that wisdom prevails and diplomacy prevails on the other side. They understand that those who drag them into this war can drag them into also a quagmire for them. Look, even suggesting that a foreign country can put boots on the ground of another country, invade another country, occupy the land of another country, is something very much rogue, very reckless, illegal, and against all international law. There is no mandate for Americans to do that, and they are doing this because they are so drunk of power. They think that they can do whatever they want. Now we are focusing on defending our territorial integrity and our national sovereignty. Anything that can distract us from this heroic nationalist defense is not an option for now. Those who started this aggression, those who started this war of choice, those who started to invade Iran, they have to decide to stop this illegal, reckless, rogue behavior. We are defending our country. You just go and see what happened during the 8 years of imposed war on Iran by Saddam Hussein, just sponsored by all petrodollars from the region and Americans and all Western countries. The history tells you what is happening. Iranians are the oldest living continuous civilization on earth. Iran has always stood up tall. And we are going to do the same by defending heroically. This is a nationalist defense for us, and we have no option just to push back and hit back aggressors and those who started this war of aggression. I'm not in the business of speculations. You know that. We are just working by facts. He's healthy, he's in charge, and he's doing whatever is supposed to be done by him. I think that they have to think twice when they are thinking about Iran. They shouldn't take advice from those who are not knowing Iran, who wanted for decades to win a war against Iran with American taxpayers and American soldiers' blood. Netanyahu and the Israeli regime has its own agenda of making this war a win for them in the expense of everybody.
First and foremost, the Strait of Hormuz is not closed. Given the current conditions and the insecurity created by the United States and the Zionist entity, the passage and movement of ships is subject to certain conditions. However, in such a situation, no coastal state can allow enemy ships to pass through its waters freely in order to bolster their capabilities in preparation for hostile acts against it. The United States, Israel, and their allies should not use the Strait of Hormuz to attack Iran. This is both a logical principle and an acceptable practice under international law. It is our armed forces that control passage and movement. As in previous cases, parties not involved in military aggression against Iran have crossed the Strait of Hormuz in coordination with, and with the consent of, our armed forces. Whether or not others enter this battle is their decision, but it is certain that Islamic and Arab states and peoples will not accept being partners or supporters of a regime that has recently carried out and continues to carry out genocides in the occupied Palestinian territories. The peoples and governments of the region are keen to put an end to this aggressive war imposed on a Muslim state whose resources are being exploited. If the countries of the region have a role to play in this matter, it will certainly be against the aggressors, America and the Zionist regime. Well, the whole world can see it. People see it. The pretext for starting this war was an imminent threat from Iran. Do you remember when they claimed that an email from Iran to the United States was the reason for the attack? Then the Pentagon announced that no such threat had ever existed. They once claimed to be concerned about Iran's nuclear program. Yet 9 months ago, they openly stated that they had destroyed it. All of this is documented. This isn't the work of artificial intelligence. Therefore, we cannot conclude that we would attack merely for amusement or out of superstition. The American people and the Western public must be more vigilant than others. They must realize the extent of the catastrophic confusion that American politicians are experiencing themselves. They have ignited a war against humanity, civilization, and a civilized nation, and now they are desperately searching for a justification for this war. These absurd statements indicate that this war is brutal, illegitimate, and unjustified. Any country that participates in this illegitimate war in any way will undoubtedly be labeled an accomplice to a heinous crime by history, the Iranian nation, and global public opinion. It is of the utmost importance that other countries were invited to join the war and that many of them refused, fully aware of the situation. Any statesman or stateswoman who respects international law and is committed to humanity would categorically reject the United States' call to intervene in this act of aggression. No one can claim that they were unsure of the nature of this military aggression and therefore decided to participate in it. The military aggression being waged by the United States and the Zionist entity against Iran is completely illegitimate under international law, and all nations are aware of this. Ignoring this flagrant crime will inevitably lead to dire consequences for other nations. In Europe, some states are openly declaring the war imposed on Iran to be illegal, and we hope that all states will stand up to this bullying by the United States and the Zionist entity for once, and not allow this lawlessness, aggression, and crime to become normalized at an international level. Otherwise, the United Nations and the normative systems upon which it is based will cease to exist. We urge all countries to avoid becoming complicit in the crime of aggression against Iran and its people. These days will inevitably pass. Iran will emerge from this ordeal with its head held high. No country should allow itself to provide the United States or the Zionist entity with any resources that could be used to appease the aggressor, either directly or indirectly. As I mentioned with regard to European countries, they are under significant American pressure. However, European countries, which claim to respect the rule of law, assert that international law and the principles of the United Nations Charter must form the basis of international relations. Now, they face a clear test. Observe the extent of their commitment to these principles. To what extent do they believe in Europe's ability to play a constructive role in international developments? Despite making strenuous efforts against the United States and offering sufficient concessions, we are constantly facing increasing American advancement and dominance, both regionally and internationally, at the expense of some Eastern European countries and Romania, as you specifically mentioned. Yes, we have heard that a decision has been made on this matter. This action will undoubtedly be considered participation in military aggression against Iran. It is an utterly unacceptable act from both an international legal and political standpoint, and the Romanian government will bear international responsibility if it is carried out. It would stain the history of Iranian-Romanian relations, given that the peoples of Iran and Romania have long enjoyed strong ties of friendship. There is no justification or excuse for any other country to participate in this military aggression, which we view as completely unacceptable. Our response will be appropriate, both legally and politically. Over the past 2 or 3 weeks, one of the places attacked in the early days was the headquarters of the diplomatic police in Tehran. The sole purpose of the diplomatic police is to ensure the security and safety of foreign embassies, diplomatic missions, and consulates. This is conclusive evidence of the United States and the Zionist regime's opposition to diplomacy, and anything that shows signs of interaction and dialogue. Other incidents have been recorded, including attacks on sites near embassies, which have undermined the security of diplomats and caused problems for embassies. Our international team is documenting these cases, and they will be published in due course.